Literary devices, also called poetic devices, are techniques used by writers to enhance storytelling beyond the literal meaning of the words. They help to make writing more emotive, craft specific atmospheres, and convey meaning in more nuanced ways. Naturally, many poetic devices have been adopted into visual media. Pathetic fallacy is a device in which non-human parts of the natural world are used to reflect the state of being of humans. This can be very effective in scriptless pieces of media or music videos, as it essentially allows for the internal emotion of characters to be communicated visually without the characters themselves having to explicitly verbally express their feelings, prompting understanding and empathy from the viewer. The interesting thing about enhypen, which adds another layer of depth, is that the pathetic fallacy is not expressing the state of human characters but of werewolves. Enhypen is a Japanese-Korean idol group who embody a werewolf concept, which you may know to coincide with enhypen's vampire concept. Enhypen uses this fantasy aesthetic to explore the themes of social isolation and a search for belonging. That subconscious connection between a humanistic emotive state and the natural environment is only exaggerated when the characters we're watching are actually wild animals. So as I mentioned, pathetic fallacy is a very integral part of enhypen's conceptual lore and visual aesthetic. They use the changing of seasons and weather to reflect the emotional state of the members often, which also goes hand in hand with floral motifs and symbolisms, wherein the reminiscence of different characters in their worldview are reflected in different flowers, blooming and dying as the members hold on to memories of them or let them fade away. Let's look through the evolution of some of their music videos, looking at both pathetic fallacy and other naturalistic symbolisms. Just to clarify, I'm analyzing them as standalone works, not really considering the entirety of their lore, which I understand is heavily intertwined with the Dark Moon webtoon. So feel free to add anything in the comments. Their debut music video begins with an opening monologue from a character called Giri. Assumed to once be the leader of a wolf pack, he dies while deeming K the new leader, telling him to take care of the cubs, and think carefully about things you shouldn't compromise. They sit in city ruins, which almost gives off a post-apocalyptic vibe, meant to illustrate the wolves' loss of territory to the vampires. Assuming the vampires struck at night because they burn under the sun, Giri and K sit near a shoreline as the sun rises. In fantasy, we more often see death at night or sunset, associating the falling of the sun into darkness with the falling of a person into death. Here, the sun is rising strongly, giving the scene an overwhelming visual warmth and glow. A beating sun would normally reflect a joyous state of being, which is clearly not what K is feeling at this moment. It's a really beautiful juxtaposition of death and violence, and rebirth and new beginnings. This is further anchored by the water, a very nuanced symbol in that it can represent life and renewal but also destruction. I see this as a way to reflect the reassurance Giri provides K. Though something awful has clearly happened, the atmosphere crafted by these elements is the embracing calm after a storm, showing how the death of Giri, someone who inspires happiness and security, will bring a new beginning regardless.
K! K!
The video essentially works to show the members slowly being pulled from their own isolation and hiding their werewolf identities, realizing they are one and the same, and coming together to form a pack. Having their true selves be slowly awakened under the skin. As the members come together, we see them surrounded by mist as a storm brews above, providing both a sense of impending doom, or mystery of what's to come next, and an indication of mourning Giri. The confirmation of the members' pact comes through this scene, in which we see a montage of the members underwater, ending with K and Joe alone joining hands. As I mentioned earlier, water is a very nuanced symbol, but it archetypally and most commonly reflects the concept of rebirth or a fresh start. Its role in this scene is pretty self-explanatory in the creation of a new beginning for the members. However, its destructive interpretation, especially considering how ominous and dark the coloring is, can also leave you with some interesting ideas about how their relationship will unfold, potentially foreshadowing a sort of self-destruction.
My precious
Firework is the introduction of the character Suha, who you may know if you're familiar with enhypen's lore. For a surface-level introduction, all that needs to be understood is that Firework depicts a chaotic unrequited love and betrayal. We go back and forth between what it feels like to be infatuated with someone shown through the yellow flowers and clear skies, and what it feels like to fight for their affection and ultimately lose it, shown through barren or muddied grassland and stormy skies. I think my favorite scene in this video is when Maki is in the dorm room, and as memories of Suha come to mind, he turns his pillowcase upside down, and the flowers come pouring out, as if the idealized version of her was one that only existed in his dreams. Dropkick further anchors the members' relationship. It's all about teamwork and is therefore sunny and vivid. Maybe is still warm and sunny, but it is an important song to look at lyrically. The change of seasons is coming, and the song acts as a dedication to stand by each other even when rain, aka something troublesome or disheartening, is on its way. Foreshadowing, foreshadowing. The rain that was foreshadowed in Maybe presents itself in Samidare.
Samidare
is a Japanese term which refers to heavy rains that occur in late spring or early summer, specifically in May. The video begins with the members lying on Giri's grave, which is covered with growing syringa lilac flowers. This is one of two symbolic flowers introduced in this video. The lilac represents the memory and legacy of Giri. As the members experience the first instance of turmoil in their relationship, we see the lilac fall from Kei's hand. Samidare is a reflection on the past, using spring weather, with the blooming of flowers and rain, to illustrate the change and clash in group dynamics. The second floral motif present both visually and lyrically is Sakura, the flower of Japanese cherry blossoms. The tree and its blossoms become symbolic of the wolf pack's relationship and harmony. Rain is a common type of pathetic fallacy, and probably the most intrinsically obvious kind, used to illustrate sadness or grief. Before, rain was something harmless, refreshing, helping flowers bloom, but now, it takes on its more archetypal meaning of sorrow that washes away these happy memories. However, this song is not just an excerpt of sadness, but a complete story of overcoming. Hardship is as inescapable as the raindrops that hit you in a storm, but just like we saw in Giri's death, ends only lead to new beginnings. The ups and downs of their relationship are clearly depicted through the contrast between fighting in the pouring rain and brighter performance scenes with cherry blossoms. At the end of the video, we see the complete overcoming and acceptance of each other's differences through the rain slowly fading away and being replaced by falling sakura petals. We move from spring into summer in Aorashi.
青嵐
Is a Japanese word that means blue-green storm, and is often used to refer to the refreshing wind that blows through leaves in early summer. This is very clearly reflected visually and lyrically, showing a sort of healing from the previous song. Illumination keeps the happy, bright mood going, but it's our first time seeing snow. As I mentioned, rain has been used to represent sadness. It brewed in under the skin through grief, and became stronger through betrayal and firework, finally showed itself in Samidare, and now team is using snow to reflect the churning of rain, sadness and mourning, into something new. Snow is often a sign of cleansing and purity due to its white color, but is also representative of covering up the past just as snow creates a blanket over land. There has been a repetitive theme of rebirth and transition through their entire discography so far, but change doesn't always mean change for the better. Think about Giri and the lilac, a sign of remembrance, being thrown under this blanket. Is this a positive way of moving on, or an attempt to bury the past, the hardships between the members included, out of haste and avoidance? Snow can be beautiful, but it also brings isolation and loss, the very thing team was trying to break free from in the first place. This sort of dissonance is further exploited in Yuki Akari.
雪明かり
Means the light reflected by snow. Lyrically, the song displays a positive meaning of feeling warm when together, even when in the winter cold, promising to continue to face the seasons together. But visually, we're being shown a much more dynamic story of the other members attempting to comfort Kei as feelings of loneliness and fear creep up on him again. Through the majority of the video we see him isolated, fighting off visuals of dead or hurt wolves, specifically of an injured Harua. Blood in snow is always a striking image because of the contrast in color, communicating the stark difference and clash between purity and violence. Deer Hunter is essentially team's hunt song. It's interesting to note that deer mortality by wolves is higher in heavier winters than in milder ones, as obviously deers are healthier in warmer climates and therefore have a higher chance of running away. In the Deer Hunter music video, we can see this sort of struggle for power reflected in the eeriness of the video as a result of the weather. Considering its post-Yuki Akari placement, it's the end of winter, cold but not snowing, meaning that catching prey will be more difficult than it has been the past few months, and the members are basically locking in and training for a harder fight, as depicted in the song lyrically. That could be purely unintentional, but still interesting to point out.